The quiet Plymouth stars above Earth had grown crowded with warships. Red lines of light blinked across the sky at night, and even children had stopped wishing upon shooting stars. Because now, the stars shot back. Earth stayed quiet. Not weak. Not afraid. Just quiet. While other worlds picked sides in the galactic war, aligning with the Obsidian Dominion or swearing loyalty to the core alliance, Earth chose none. Their ships stayed parked in their hangars. Their leaders answered. No calls. No weapons were sold. No soldiers were sent. Earth's silence became a rumor across the stars. Some called it wisdom. Others called it cowardice. But not everyone believed the humans were sleeping. Deep in the mountains of northern Canada, in a small cabin surrounded by trees that whispered secrets to the wind, lived an old man named Jonas Eldon. His hands were scarred from old tools, not weapons. His beard was wild and white. Most thought he was a retired forest mechanic, maybe once a scientist. No one remembered for sure. He liked it that way. But one winter morning, as snow curled like smoke around his porch, something strange came down from the sky. Not a warship, not a scout. It looked like a tear in the air itself, a narrow blue wound in space that blinked, shimmered, and then opened. Jonas didn't move. Not at first. He watched the light stretch and twist until a shape fell out of it. Not fell. Collapsed. A figure slammed into the snow just 20 feet from his front door. The portal sealed behind her like a breath pulled and reversed. Jonas waited, his breath fogged in the air. Birds didn't sing. The wind held its breath. The figure groaned. She looked like a woman, almost. Skin like pale violet ice, eyes that burned too bright for comfort. Metal plates were fused into her shoulders, and her long dark coat steamed from the cold. Her boots were cracked and bloodied. Something about her face was familiar, though Jonas couldn't place it. She lifted her head. Her voice trembled. "You're the one they said you were here." Jonas said nothing, not yet. He moved slowly toward her, knee-deep in snow, boots crunching the ice. His cabin creaked behind him like it knew what was coming. "You shouldn't be here," Jonas said finally. "Not you." "They're coming," she gasped. "They'll reach Earth in 6 days." "Why?" "Because you wouldn't choose a side," she whispered. "So now they'll choose for you." Jonas helped her up. She was heavier than she looked. His old arms ached. "Who are you?" He asked. Her reply shook something deep in him. "I'm the last of the seers," she said. "And you ... You're the only anomaly. The only human whose future they couldn't read. That's why they're afraid of you." A strange cold settled in Jonas's stomach. "They think if you stay alive, the war ends," she said. "But if you die, humanity falls in line." He stared at her. Then, for the first time in many years, Jonas Eldon, the quiet man of the mountains, who had once walked away from everything, opened the locked shed beside his cabin. Inside was not firewood. Inside was something humming. Ancient, alien, and undeniably human. And when he touched it, the lights across Earth's orbit flickered for a moment, just a flicker, as if the planet had exhaled. But up in orbit, far beyond the clouds, 3 warships turned their weapons toward Earth. They had made their decision. And now, so had Earth. The shed that shouldn't exist. Jonas stood in the doorway of the shed, the snow behind him already melting from the strange heat inside. The machine before him didn't look like anything built by human hands, not modern ones at least. It was smooth and silver, with grooves that pulsed gently like a creature breathing. The center glowed blue, just faintly, like it was asleep or waiting. The seer stepped in behind him, her eyes wide. For the first time since she arrived, she looked afraid. "You activated it," she whispered. Jonas didn't answer. His hand hovered above the machine, fingers trembling. The last time he had touched it, he was 32. younger, louder, angrier. He remembered the room it was found in, buried under Antarctica, wrapped in metal walls that hummed with energy older than Earth's cities. Back then, he was a field engineer for the Lunar Ruins Task Force. Back then, Earth was still pretending the galaxy didn't exist, but the thing they found was not from Earth, not from any known species. And it responded only to him. It scared the generals. It scared the scientists more. So Jonas left, took the machine, disappeared into the forests, and waited. He never thought it would call again. Behind him, the seer spoke fast, her voice shaky. They're scanning for you now. If they pick up that signature, they will, Jonas said quietly. They already have. Outside, the air cracked. Not thunder. Not wind. A sound like metal being pulled through ice. Jonas stepped out of the shed, the seer following close. She was limping. Snow clung to her boots, her dark hair whipping in the wind. Do you remember what this thing is? She asked. No, he said, but it remembers me. The sky split. A jagged shape shimmered into the clouds above the mountain. A hunter ship from the Dominion. Sharp like a dagger. Black metal curved with red veins of light. It didn't fire. Not yet. Just hovered. The seer gritted her teeth. They're sending an observer first to confirm. A beam of white light fell from the ship. Soft at first. Then a shape lowered from it. Tall, cloaked in armor that shifted like liquid glass. Its face was hidden behind a mask of shifting colors. When it touched the snow, it made no sound. No footprints. It walked toward Jonas with slow, deliberate steps. Jonas stepped forward to meet it. Eyes narrowed. The observer stopped just 5 feet away. You are Jonas Eldon, it said. Its voice sounded like 100 whispers layered together. Jonas nodded once. You hold the relic. He said nothing. The mask changed, flickered between faces of different alien races. Some he recognized. Some he didn't. The Dominion offers mercy, the voice said. Turn over the relic, submit, and Earth will be protected. Jonas tilted his head. What does the Alliance offer? He asked. The observer went still. We are the offer, it replied. Jonas let that sit in. The air for a moment. Then, quietly, almost gently, he said, Tell your masters. Earth has made its choice. He raised his hand. Behind him, the shed burst with light. The blue glow turned to gold, then to white. The snow vanished in a flash of steam. And for the first time in recorded galactic history, a human-born signal echoed across subspace. Something old, something forbidden, something the Dominion once thought erased. The observer staggered back. Its voice glitched. You activated the Pathfinder. The seer's eyes widened. That's impossible. That tech was lost before the forming of the Alliance. Jonas turned to her. It was never lost. It just waited. Above them, the hunter ship began to back away. But it was too late. Earth was waking up. Not just Jonas. Not just the shed. All over the world. Old machines blinked to life. Devices hidden in ocean trenches, deep caves, forgotten ruins. Devices built long ago. Not by humans, but waiting for them. And someone or something was answering. The old blood of Earth, skies over Earth, changed that night. It wasn't just the clouds or the stars. It was something deeper. A pressure in the bones, a hum in the teeth. Across every continent, people paused mid-breath as ancient machines flickered on in places long forgotten, beneath deserts, inside glaciers, under ruined cities swallowed by jungle. They didn't roar to life. They whispered, low pulses, faint rhythms, like a heartbeat coming back after centuries of silence. In orbit, the hunter ships of the Dominion hesitated. The Alliance fleets, watching from farther out, didn't move either. Both sides had sensors. Screaming now, they scanned for weapons, found none. They scanned for power sources, found too many. They tried to jam signals. Nothing worked. Earth had gone quiet again, but not empty. In the mountains, Jonas stood on the porch of his cabin, staring at the horizon. The seer sat on a crate beside him, wrapping her wounded arm in cloth. Her eyes didn't leave the sky. "They're scared," she said softly. "I've never seen them scared." "They should be," Jonas answered. The wind carried a strange scent now. Not snow or pine, but something older. Something electric. Something metal and alive. The relic in the shed pulsed in time with the hum spreading across the planet. Jonas could feel it in his chest, like the world itself had started breathing again. His hands shook, not with fear, but with memory. "What is it?" the seer asked. "What did you activate?" Jonas didn't answer right away. He looked toward the tallest peak in the distance, a place he hadn't climbed in 40 years. "Not since the visions began. We thought we were alone once," he said. "Then we thought we were new, young, naive." He paused. The wind rattled the shutters of the cabin. "But what if humans aren't young?" he continued. "What if we're just remembering?" The seer blinked. "You think humans built those machines?" "No," he said. "But I think they were. Made for us." Far below them, down in the valley, a forgotten satellite dish turned toward the sky. No one had touched it in decades. Yet it moved with purpose. Scanning the stars. It began transmitting. Not a message, a challenge. One word. In a language itself. Awakening. In space, Dominion ships recoiled. Sensors screamed. The Pathfinder code, thought extinct, was alive. And it came from Earth. On the edge of the solar system, a strange object turned. It had drifted dormant in the Kuiper Belt for hundreds of years. No one knew it was there. It looked like an asteroid until it opened. 6 arms unfolded from its shell. Symbols glowed along its sides. And at the center of its core, a single word lit up in golden script: human. Then it began to move, straight toward Earth. Back on the mountain. The seer stood, her knees unsteady. "That signal, it'll reach both factions. They'll come full force now. They'll want to destroy you before the past wakes up completely." Jonas nodded. "That's why we have to be first." "First for what?" He turned toward her. "First to remember who we are." From the forest came the soft crunch of boots. Jonas TENCD. A small group of figures emerged through the trees. 5 men and women, dressed in old uniforms with patches from nations long dissolved. Their eyes met Jonas's. He relaxed. "You called us," one of them said. Jonas stepped forward. "Not me," he said. "The Earth did." The relic in the shed pulsed once more. And far beneath their feet, in a chamber buried under centuries of rock, a massive stone door cracked open, and the lights inside revealed a mural of humans standing beside beings not yet known, holding fire in their hands. Waiting for this day. The memory buried in stone beneath the mountains, deep past the frozen roots and forgotten bones of the earth. The stone door moaned as it opened wider. Dust that had not moved in 1,000 years spun into the air like golden mist. The tunnel behind the door was warm, unnaturally warm. The kind of heat that made your skin prickle with both wonder and warning. Jonas led the way, lantern in hand, though the walls glowed faintly with a light of their own. The others followed silently, boots crunching over centuries of stillness. The seer walked close behind, her violet eyes scanning the etchings carved into the walls. Every few steps she reached out and brushed her fingers against them, as if the stone itself was speaking to her. "This wasn't built by humans," one of the others whispered. "No," Jonas replied, "but it was left for us." The tunnel sloped downward, winding into the bedrock. The deeper they went, the more alive the air felt. Not just warm or pulsing, timed, like a heartbeat, like the earth itself was holding something. And now it wanted it to be found. They stepped into a massive chamber. Its ceiling rose higher than the tallest tree. At the center stood a pillar of white stone surrounded by 6 smaller monoliths, each with symbols that flickered and shifted when Jonas approached. But it was the mural behind the main pillar that stopped everyone. It showed humans unmistakably. Human, standing alongside strange creatures. Tall beings with crystalline skin. Short ones with elongated skulls and swirling eyes. Feathered ones, horned ones. And yet, every figure stood as equals. There were no chains. No weapons raised. Only hands outstretched, palms open, and at the very center of the mural, a human figure holding a torch. A flame that did not burn, but glowed. "This is a covenant," the seer said softly. "Not of war, of remembrance. What does it mean?" One of the others asked. Jonas stepped forward. "It means we're not what they think we are, not primitive, not accidental. We were chosen, maybe even planted." A soft chime echoed from the pillar. The central stone began to shift, rotating with a sound like sliding ice. A small compartment opened near its base. Inside was a cube, smooth, metallic, and humming with soft light. Jonas reached for it. The moment his fingers touched it, the chamber dimmed. Then a voice spoke, not loud, not human, but warm, deep. "You have returned? Initiate memory stream 1. The walls shimmered. Light filled the room, wrapping them in a vision, not a hologram, not a screen, but something deeper. They saw stars spinning, galaxies forming. Then a planet, not Earth, but similar, lush and blue. And then war. A war so vast it shattered moons and pulled suns from the sky. Civilizations burned. Alliances fell, and in the middle of it, the last of a dying alliance placed their final. Hope, not in weapons, not in more ships, but in one planet. Earth. A place untouched by the war. A place they believed would be safe, not just from destruction, but from forgetting. They sealed knowledge, relics, and memories deep within it. And they chose humans, not for strength, not for power, but for resilience, for the ability to rise again and again, even after being broken. The vision faded. The group stood in silence. "They wanted us to remember," the seer whispered. "But the galaxy, it erased the past." Jonas closed his eyes. Until now. Above ground, things had changed. Satellites had gone silent. Earth's skies now shimmered with golden lines, not energy shields, not weapons. Something older. Runes of light orbiting the planet, written in the same language as the monoliths. And far above, in the black void between stars, both the Dominion and Alliance fleets began to receive strange signals from their ships. Dreams. Visions. Of Earth burning bright in the night, but not in flames. In memory. And it scared them more than any weapon ever had, because Earth was not rising to fight. Earth was rising to remember. And no one knew what would come next. When memory becomes power, the skies above Earth had grown too quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that came before something massive, something irreversible. Space itself felt like it was holding its breath from the edges of the solar system. 2 vast forces stared inward. The Obsidian Dominion had called for reinforcements, sleek black ships shaped like blades, filled with soldiers who had never known mercy. The Core Alliance had formed its own circle of steel and starlight, grand, noble, and afraid. Neither side understood what they were seeing. Orbiting Earth now were rings of gold, not metal. They glowed, shifted, pulsed with silent meaning, written in a language both ancient and human. The same language carved deep into the Earth's crust. The same symbols hidden in the DNA of trees, and whispered in the dreams of every child born with strange eyes. These rings did not fire. They did not shield Dot, but they watched Dot, and that frightened both sides. More than any weapon, Jonas stood at the edge of the monolith chamber beneath the mountain, holding the cube in his hands. It vibrated softly, like it was awake now. Like it was listening. The others stood around him, silent. "You're not just holding knowledge," the seer said. "You're holding authority." Double quotes. Jonas looked up. "Explain." "This cube doesn't just contain memories," she said. "It holds rights, permissions, the ability to command relics, maybe even systems left behind by those who seeded Earth." "Why me?" Jonas asked. "I'm not special." "You were chosen," she replied. "Not because of what you are, but because of what you never became." He stared at her. "You didn't let pain turn to cruelty. You didn't chase power. You walked away, and that's exactly why the old ones trusted you." Before Jonas could answer, the cube flared. The monoliths around them shook. A beam of light shot straight through the Earth's crust from the chamber, up through the rock, through the atmosphere, into orbit. And it touched one of the Dominion ships. Not destroyed, not damaged. Just touched, and the ship went still, silent, lifeless. As if its power had been turned off. On the bridge of the Alliance's command ship, Admiral stood frozen. The signal that emerged from Earth didn't match any known threat. It wasn't coded like a weapon. It didn't jam or blind. It calmed, like a song sung directly to machines. Like the world below had whispered, enough. Jonas turned toward the others. "I think I can reach more." He placed the cube back into the pillar. The chamber lit up with a new pattern. This time, not a memory. Not history. But instructions. Pathway formed along the floor, lines of golden light pointing toward another location across the ocean, south of the equator. In the center of an island long thought lost. "There's another key," the seer said. Jonas nodded. "And we're not the only ones looking for it." He was right. Above the clouds, several Dominion ships began their descent. But it wasn't a strike. It was something different. Something strange. They sent one ship, unarmed, flashing a signal of surrender. When it landed on a plain in Nevada, and the door opened, what stepped out shocked the world. A Dominion commander, kneeling, and in her hands was a child, a human child. "We found her alone on an abandoned science world," the commander said to the cameras. "She speaks the old tongue, and she's glowing." The child looked up. Her eyes were gold, and in the quiet of that moment, all of humanity felt something stir in their bones. A word passed through them like wind through leaves. Return. The girl who remembered Tumuck, name was Luma. Or at least, that's what she whispered to the wind. The Dominion commander who brought her to Earth couldn't explain much. The child had been found inside a sealed chamber on an abandoned world. At the edge of Dominion space, no record of her origin. No explanation for her survival. She had been alone for who knew how long, but when they tried to scan her, their machines overheated. Some just shut down. And then she spoke. Not in any galactic dialect, but in the first tongue, the forgotten language of the Pathfinders. On Earth, Jonas felt her arrival like a bell ringing inside his chest. The cube in the mountain pulsed. The monoliths shimmered. The rings in orbit adjusted, just slightly, as if they too had turned to listen. The seer watched him closely. "She's not a threat." "I know," Jonas said quietly. "But she's not human." Jonas looked up. "She's more than human." Word of the child spread fast. Faster than any fleet. The Alliance and Dominion both held back, unsure how to proceed. This girl, this golden-eyed girl, had spoken one sentence after arriving. "I dreamed of this world long before it was born." Scientists debated her. Soldiers feared her. But across the world, something else happened. Children began to remember. Not memories of their lives, not dreams, but fragments, pieces of places they had never seen, songs they had never heard, maps in their minds pointing to locations they couldn't name. Some drew symbols. Others sang in voices too old for their years. Something was waking in the human soul. Jonas and the others traveled to meet Luma. The journey was long, quiet, and strange. Across forests, deserts, and oceans, more ancient devices emerged. They did not rise like towers. They bloomed like flowers made of metal and memory, growing from the earth as if always meant to return. When Jonas finally stood before Luma, she smiled. "I know you," she said. He knelt, unsure why his throat tightened. "You were there at the beginning," she continued, "when the last pathfinders scattered their light. They said you would carry the silence until we were ready." Jonas could barely speak. "I don't remember." "You don't have to," Luma said. "Your soul does." She reached out and placed her hand on his chest. His eyes widened, and then he saw. Not with his eyes, but deep inside, he saw stars folding. He saw beings of light pouring themselves into seed ships. He saw Earth chosen not because it was perfect, but because it was patient, humble, rich in heart, not metal. And he saw himself not as Jonas the old man, but as someone before names, standing beside the first flame. His hands began to glow. The relic back in the mountain exploded with light. The rings in orbit brightened, and above Earth, a ripple moved through space, not a shock wave, not a beam, a memory pulse. It spread across the solar system like fire across dry grass. Ships caught in its path didn't die. They remembered. Commanders dropped their weapons, tears on their cheeks, hearing voices they hadn't heard since childhood. Some collapsed, overcome with the grief of forgotten oaths. Others fell to their knees, whispering apologies into the stars. Earth had not built a weapon. Earth had become one, not of destruction, but of truth. The Pathfinders had never died. They had simply planted themselves into human hearts. Waiting. And now, the galaxy had to choose, conquer the past or be changed by it. When the stars remember it for the first time in galactic history, all fleets stood still. The Dominion's warships, bred for destruction, no longer moved. Alliance cruisers, proud and polished, dimmed their engines. Scanners reported no damage, no sabotage, only silence, as if the universe itself was holding a final note in a song that none had dared finish. The memory pulse had changed everything. Jonas stood with Luma on a quiet hill outside what had once been a military facility. Now the fences were open. Guards had removed their armor. Researchers and pilots walked together, their faces filled with something rare in times of war: awe. The cube pulsed quietly in Jonas's hands, but it no longer led. It listened. Luma sat cross-legged in the grass, humming softly to the earth. Wherever her voice touched, the soil bloomed, not flowers, not grass, but strange, glowing vines, fragments of memory made physical. Pathfinder roots. From the sky, more ships descended, but not with weapons drawn. First came the Alliance Council, high generals and scholars, who had long dismissed humanity as a backwater mistake. Then came the Dominion, their highest judge. Her face scarred from battles long before Earth's time. They came not to conquer. They came to ask. Jonas stood between them. No podium, no banners, only open sky. "We were never your enemy," Jonas said. "We didn't pick a side because this war was never ours. We were left with pieces, with dreams, with voices in our bones that none of you could understand." They, Dominion judge, bowed her head. "We feared you would rise to dominate." Jonas shook his head. "No, we rose to remind." The Alliance general stepped forward. "Remind us of what?" Luma stood now, her voice quiet but sharp like wind through glass. "Of who you used to be, she said. Before the thrones. Before the fleets. When you still listened to stars instead of harvesting them. Silence fell again. Then something unexpected happened. One of the Dominion soldiers, tall, armored, his face hidden, stepped forward and removed his helmet. He was weeping. I dreamed of a world with rivers made of song, he whispered. I thought it was madness. It was memory, Jonas said. Others stepped forward, more than 100 from both sides. Different species, different languages, but the same tremble in their voices. They had felt it too, the pull. And now they understood. The war hadn't started with betrayal. It had started when the galaxy forgot. But Earth had remembered. Slowly, agreements were formed, not through treaties, but through shared stories. Ancient symbols were brought forward. The rings around Earth translated forgotten languages. Humans, once thought unworthy of the stars, now became the bridge between past and future. New fleets were not built for war, they were built for pilgrimage, not to expand empires. But to find other memory-locked worlds, other places the Pathfinders had touched, other seeds waiting to bloom. Jonas returned to his cabin. He didn't need to lead anymore. His hands were old, his heart full. The relic in the shed no longer pulsed. It simply rested as if its purpose had been fulfilled. Luma stayed for a time, then left with the first memory fleet, not as a weapon, but as a guide. The girl who remembered before Earth was born. And across the galaxy, in places where nothing had grown for ages, new light touched the ground. Humans had not chosen a side in the war. They had ended it, not with fire. But with memory. With kindness. With the one strength no fleet could match, the power to heal what had been forgotten. And somewhere, in the deep dark, a Pathfinder star lit up once more, not as a warning, but as a welcome.